Have you ever emptied your pocket at the end of the day, glanced at a handful of pennies, and assumed every single one was worth exactly 1 cent? Most of us have. Those little copper-colored coins often end up forgotten in jars, hidden inside old coffee cans, or buried in the bottom of a drawer for years. But every once in a while, one of those ordinary-looking pennies makes collectors stop, grab a magnifying glass, and take a much closer look. Today, we're following the story of one particular coin, the 1973 Lincoln Memorial Cent. At first glance, it doesn't look special. Millions of Americans handled these coins during the 1970s. They bought groceries, paid for gas, disappeared into vending machines, and passed through countless hands without anyone giving them a second thought. Yet decades later, collectors are still searching through rolls of pennies, looking for certain 1973 examples. Why? That's exactly what we're about to uncover. Before we get into the details, here's something that surprises many people. Simply having a 1973 penny does not automatically make it valuable. In fact, most are still worth only face value if they've spent years in circulation. But certain examples, especially those with exceptional preservation, interesting mint characteristics, or unusual production errors, can attract much stronger interest from collectors. That's what makes coin collecting so fascinating. Sometimes the smallest details separate an ordinary coin from one that people actively hunt for. To understand why the 1973 Lincoln Cent still captures attention today, we have to travel back to America in the early 1970s. The country was experiencing enormous change. Technology was advancing, inflation was becoming a growing concern, and everyday cash transactions depended heavily on coins. Like the Lincoln Cent, every trip to the grocery store, every newspaper purchase, every candy bar often involved a handful of pennies. Because demand for small change remained high, the United States Mint struck enormous numbers of Lincoln Cents during 1973. Philadelphia produced coins without a mint mark. Denver struck coins carrying the familiar D, and San Francisco continued producing proof coins designed specifically for collectors. With such massive production numbers, it might seem impossible that any 1973 penny could become collectible. But experienced collectors know that rarity isn't always about how many coins were originally made. Sometimes it's about how many survived in exceptional condition. Imagine opening an old family piggy bank that hasn't been touched since the late 1970s. Inside are crisp rolls of pennies, placed there decades ago, forgotten. Most will still be ordinary circulated coins, but occasionally one appears almost untouched by time, preserving brilliant original color and sharp details that collectors love. Condition changes everything. Professional grading services examine coins under strict standards, evaluating factors like luster, surface preservation, strike quality, and eye appeal. A coin that escaped decades of wear may command significantly more collector interest than an identical coin that spent years passing through cash registers. But condition isn't the only thing that keeps collectors searching. Many hobbyists carefully inspect every 1973 penny looking for mint errors. During the minting process, even small mechanical problems could create unusual results. Off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, die chips, and doubled features are all examples of mint-produced errors that collectors study. It's important to remember that not every unusual-looking coin is a genuine mint error. Damage from circulation, environmental exposure, cleaning, or accidents after leaving the mint can sometimes resemble production mistakes. That's why experienced collectors examine coins carefully before reaching conclusions. Now here's a fascinating detail many beginners overlook. The 1973 proof cent wasn't intended for circulation at all. These specially struck coins featured highly polished dies and carefully prepared planchets, producing beautiful mirror-like fields and frosted design elements. Many proof sets remain intact today, but exceptionally preserved examples continue attracting collector interest, particularly when they receive high professional grades. Meanwhile, some collectors devote years to finding the finest business examples from Philadelphia and Denver, not because they're necessarily rare in circulation, but because locating one with nearly flawless surfaces after more than 50 years can be surprisingly difficult. And that's where the real treasure hunt begins. What should you actually look for if you discover a 1973 penny in your change jar tonight? The answer may be much more interesting than you expect.